Hey everyone, it's your buddy and pal Karnak Serenity Wargaming and Explanations, taking a look at the Republic Y-Wings today. So the Y-Wings for the Republic, you can see the picture there. They're going to be slightly different than the Y-Wings you see for the Rebels, but not by much. There's really only one little adjustment. The Y-Wings for the Rebels, their anti-squadron armament is 2 blue die, but otherwise for the Republic Y Wing, it's got a blue and a black, and everything else is exactly the same between Rebel Y Wings and Republic Y Wings. So, what is kind of some like maybe some slight faction differences between Republic and Rebels? Well, let's get into it. But as I always do, we'll just go through everything. So, what makes this different than another Y Wing? Besides the models do like look more like the Republic versions, which is like the up armored variants. This is a BTL-B Y-Wing Squadron compared to the Rebels, which just says Y-Wing Squadron. Bar before that, or below that, you'll see that they are speed 3, 6 hull, again, anti-squadron armament of a blue die and a black die, and an anti-ship armament of 1 black die. Same keywords, which is the bomber keyword and heavy keyword. Bomber keyword meaning that if there is a critical symbol showing on the die, that will deal a damage, otherwise they don't. And they also can resolve a critical effect. Heavy, what that does is just you do not prevent engaged squadrons from attacking ships or moving away from you. So, don't try to screen your ships with bombers because generally that won't stop them from just continuing to attack your ships regardless. Y Wing Republic's icon down the bottom left, you'll see is still slightly different than the Rebel one. And they're the same point cost, though, which is the 10 points. So, Republic Y Wings, they're better. I mean, to put it bluntly, is that if the regular Rebel Y Wings, which are already good at what they do, these are better because if they have to attack squadrons, that combination of a blue and a black makes them more lethal against squadrons without defense tokens. Now, if they're trying to attack something that's got a scatter, they will be worse at attacking scatter aces compared to non-scatter aces, while the Rebel Y Wings will be better at attacking scatter aces but that chance they could roll that accuracy and then plink in an additional damage. But ultimately, like I said, I feel like the Republic ones are better because that black die is just more consistent damage. And even overall, Y Wings, if you have to use them to attack scatter aces, if you are rolling like the double damage, like you're making them spend a defense token, whether it be scatter or brace or something, even just 1 damage, just consistent. So they're just they're still able to dogfight their way out of a fight. I mean, otherwise the Rebel Y Wings could too. But let's get into, you know, it's just really difficult. Just like with everything, where can you get some uses of Y-wing bombers? I've seen some people like still to use them, like with Rebels, to use flight controllers with them. It's a lot easier to accomplish with Republic because they've got the Venator, they've got the Acclimator. They have a lot more platforms in which to utilize flight controllers. Rebels really don't have a great platform for that because their ships tend to really want to focus on attacking other ships. Venators and acclimators are usually just fine, not worrying about it because you want the flight controllers. But again, pros and cons for everything. But yeah, if you're bringing a Venator 2 with that high squadron value and you're not bringing squadrons, why aren't you bringing a Venator 1? I mean, yeah, the defensive retrofit, I guess, is why you would want to bring a Ven 2. But again, that higher squadron value, it's like you kind of like want to bring squadrons along with it. But it also has better dice out the side arcs, and also it's got blue dice, which that's not something generally the Republic tends to get a whole lot of access to. So pros and cons to everything. But I like seeing like flight controllers with Ahsoka, Officer Ahsoka for the Republic, which gives the snipe. That just makes B wings like pretty useful for just again 10 points. So you can chuck 3 Y wings out. They can snipe for 3 blue dice, and you're getting a lot of value there. I feel like so. That's regular Y-wings. They're bombers. They bomb things. They want to hit ships. Shouldn't necessarily be using them to attack squadrons, but if you have to in a pinch, that's going to still be very useful. And potentially, oh yeah, if you might see them paired with an acclimator with Navuta B, because Navuta B will give them that swarm ability, which is again great for if they're shooting other squadrons, or if they're attacking a ship, they're gonna get a reroll on their bomber die. So, self-contained bomber command center, please. Yes, please. Pros and cons, everything. Let's get into the only hero Republic has for their Y-Wing squadron, and that is Anakin Skywalker. Anakin Skywalker, if you see in front of their name, the little dot or bullet point signifies they are unique. You can only have one Anakin Skywalker in your fleet, meaning that if you bring the Y-Wing version of Anakin Skywalker, you cannot bring the Delta 7 version of Anakin Skywalker. So this bomber version of Anakin Skywalker is pretty unique as far as bombers go, in my opinion. Anakin Skywalker, again, still speed 3, hull 6, but they have 3 blue anti-squadron die and a whopping 2 dice for their anti-ship. They have a red and a blue. They are 19 points. They're a double brace ace. They come with Adept 2, which is that's phenomenal for a bomber. They're self-contained. They can just smack the crap out of just about anything. Even with the red die, because they're bomber, it's still useful. Hey, in that rare chance you roll the blank with that red dice, just re-roll it. Or if you roll the blue die and you don't need the accuracy, try again. It's so good attacking ships. Anakin is. So Adept 2, bomber, heavy. Even if you're attacking squadrons, again, 3 blue dice, re-roll those critical hits, try to get damage, things of that nature. Just still good in a dogfight. But their card ability is kind of interesting. It reads, during your activation, you may spend 1 defense token to ignore engagement until the end of your activation. So there's a few little interesting, unique things about this, and there is a fact on it, and I'll touch on all those. So, what does this ability grant you in a nutshell? It's pretty much just I cannot be stopped. I will bomb whatever I want. Because typically, how you stop squadrons from attacking ships is you engage them, and that way they can't shoot ships. They have to shoot squadrons. There's a few other minor little quibbles that potentially can get around that, but at the end of the day, Anakin's just like, you know what? I'm just going to spend a defense token. Again, it has to be in their activation. It can't be due to some other thing outside of it if they're able to attack otherwise. But during their activation, if they spend a defense token, they ignore engagement, period. They ignore that it exists until the end of their activation, in which case then they become engaged again. So that means that it doesn't matter if you've got 15 squadrons protecting your ship, Anakin can just fly up and still bomb the ship if they would like to. There's another tiny little unique things with this as well. So let's get into a fact that was answered about Anakin, which is, question: if the Anakin Skywalker Y-Wing Squadron spends a defense token to ignore engagement, does this also ignore the escort and screen keywords? And the answer to that is yes, because escort and screen rely on engagement to be effective. So Anakin, you can use as a last minute, you know what, I'm going to ignore all of your escort. There's this squadron sitting at 1 health. Nobody else can get to it, but I can. Anakin, spend that defense token, ignore all engagement, even from escorts. If they've got screen and other squadrons around them, just ignore that, and you just shoot them in the face. And that's pretty on brand, I feel like, for Anakin Skywalker. So I know that there was kind of some questions about, was that intentional in playtest or design or anything of that nature, and I can't answer questions like that, but I like to feel like that when they were playtesting Anakin, they focused more on the ignore engagement aspect of being able to attack ships without restriction, without, I feel like, understanding that maybe it also would just completely ignore escort and screen. But who knows? I don't know. I wasn't. I can't speak to any of that. I just know that I feel like that's very on brand for Anakin and great. But where you'll see Anakin has a lot of competition, though, is their Delta 7 variant, which their Delta 7 variant, yeah, it's more expensive, but man, offensive capability through the roof. They get adept, they get counter, they get dodge. Their offensive ability attacking squadrons is just amazing. Same with their anti-squadron dice. It's a brace scatter ace. Even if it's only attacking a ship with the black die, yeah, it's not bomber, but with adept, like you are almost always going to put through that single damage. With the Y Wing Anakin, yeah, you've got the potential to pump in, pretty consistently 2 damage or 3 damage on the rare occasions, but you are not really going to see the Y Wing Anakin version terribly too much because the Delta version is just so competitive and so good in most squadron balls. But that is the Y Wings for the Republics. There's no other crazy things going on here. Nothing else going on I feel like I need to point out. I have not really utilized Y Wings much myself. I don't play Republic all that often, so I can't speak to it. But hey, tell me how you've used Anakin Skywalker, or how you've used Y Wings. I've seen folks just like using Y Wings with Yularen because they have such high hull that they can get repaired back up, and just makes them hard to kill. I see them used with Yarlin because of the high activation count you can get with the Venators or the Acclimators to pump out just 8 activations at once if you build the Venator 2 right. So okay, well, appreciate you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.